Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. It's been a while since we've done a show on Friday because most of the time I'm busy on Fridays doing gigs with the demigods or something of that nature, so we haven't been doing shows on Friday. But unfortunately, I have to be up at like 7 o'clock in the morning to go do a gig at 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. And I got to sit there from, 9 o'clock in the morning, drive an hour, sit there until from 9 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We play, probably sober as a judge, and play from 1 to 2, and then sit there until, because my friends and bandmates are in the art. We're playing an art and music festival tomorrow, so they're doing art stuff too. So that means I got to sit up there, probably all day. So there you go. I'm live with you here tonight. We're not going to be doing any news here on the show tonight. Fuck news. Fuck the news. We're not going to do that. There's really nothing really worth covering anyway. If there was, I'd cover it, but I went through and looked, and nothing I really wanted to talk about. But we're going to just be doing emails tonight. Love to have emails. If anybody out there has topics, hey, throw one to me. Global Reality Show @gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to discuss your topic a little bit. If you got one you want to throw at me tonight, or questions, anything else, there at the email address, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to cover that here for you on the show tonight. So we're just going to do emails tonight and continue in our reading we started last night. We started reading a new book last night. We've now started reading The Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin. So we'll continue reading that tonight as well here on the broadcast. So I don't know how long the show will be. I don't know if it's going to be a couple hours or not. Maybe be kind of a shorter show. Now we'll see. We'll see what happens. But either way, I'm glad to be here with you live tonight. And if you're up late and you're out there listening in Radio Land, welcome and thanks so much for tuning in. We're glad you're here with us. I hope you'll let people know that we're live here. My website where this broadcast originates from is www.theglobalreality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. So definitely come over there to the website. The listen link is there, and that's where you can listen to the show when it's live. For those of you who don't know when to catch a live show, the majority of the time right now for this time period, I always seem to do the show at different times, different time periods. Where I'm doing that live, it's generally around this time. Pretty late, pretty early, however you want to look at it. Yeah, that affects how many listeners we get. But anyway, point is, if you listen to the stream, and you tune in the stream, you hear music on there. You hear some Megadeth or you hear whatever, just hear some tunes. That generally means that there's a live show imminent. So, just keep it tuned in, and then we'll be live there. So, again, we also have the chat room. If you want to join us in the chat room tonight, there's some chatters in there chatting it up and hanging out. So thanks to everybody who's staying up late with us in the Global Reality chat room tonight. And big ups to everybody in there. As usual, the chat room's always a fun place to hang out. There's always interesting people in there talking and get to know each other and just having fun too. I mean, if you come in there's not a serious conversation going on, you don't have to bail But you gotta have a little fun sometimes, And it has been a long time. It has been a long. Yeah, you're right, John. John's one of our longtime listeners and chatters, and he just pointed out in the chat room there hasn't been a free for all Friday in a very long time. So there you go. Well, it is free for all. So in keeping with the spirit of that free for all, emails, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show yet. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anybody else is out there has had any problems with Skype. But I cannot get Skype to work on my main computer that everything runs into before it feeds into the stream computer. I cannot for the life of me get Skype to work on this computer. And I mean, I've tried everything, uninstall, reinstalls, whatever this new update that they just recently did. Basically, once they did the update, it hosed it. And I can't get it to revert back to a previous version of it because the only one that you can find when you go download is the one that's out now. I've tried wiping the hard drive, everything I can try, and it just flat won't work. So that puts kind of a hamper on me being on somebody's show or having on guests or having phone calls or anything else. That kind of blows. So I don't know what this computer, I don't know. I'm lucky I'm thankful this computer has stayed going as long as it has. Hopefully it'll stay going long enough for me to get this film done. But if it doesn't, it wouldn't be a big deal. But because I just have everything on other drives anyway, for the most part. Yeah, so I don't know. I've had this computer since 2008. I actually got this computer not too long after I started on air. So I've almost had it 4 years, which is a long time for me. I usually don't keep computers longer than 2 years at the most. And I'm getting a new one. This one I've had, every other year generally is when I'm getting one. That may be what it is with this Skype thing. I don't know, but it's just not working for me, and I can't get it to work at all. And it may be I think it's a conflict with my 64-bit operating system. But when I go and run it in because when you're in Windows 7, you can select to make it run. Basically, what it does is it runs an emulator and kind of tricks it into thinking it's running on an older operating system. I tried that; that doesn't work either. So it's bizarre. So I'm going to probably need a new computer at some point. But anyway, glad you could be with us tonight. We do have some emails here. I want to get into those. Again, support our work. We have the stream bill coming up due. It is overdue. I got a message saying its invoice is past due. Red alert, So if you can use the chip in banner or the donate button or whatever it is and help us out so we can get that paid so we don't get the stream shut off and stuff, that'd be super duper. Thank you so much. To everybody out there, we need a little help right now to make sure we get the stuff in the middle, and then we'll be good until the first of next month. All right, let's see what we have from the email stack here. Somebody sent me the email about the shit burger in Japan. Yeah, where they taking human shit out of the sewer and making burgers out of it. Yeah, I think I talked about that like a month or so ago. I talked about that, or I read it and I just felt it wasn't even worth talking about on air. Yeah, I did say that. He says, this one's from Scott. Scott in Portland says, hi, Josh, you reported the other night on caveman grew their own genetically modified rice. You seem to have called out the BS on that story because they're comparing apples to oranges. You can't compare what caveman might have done to what biotech companies are doing today, such as trying to spike tomatoes with catfish genes to make them more cold resistant, or to make corn and soybean monocrops Roundup ready. Anyway, the story got me to thinking about ancient aliens. I think that ancient aliens did genetically modify food, but they did it with good intentions. I would say that's probably, I could probably be on board with it. Yeah, that's probably correct. Even if their overall purpose for being here may have been nefarious, I think they did create a lot of foods we have today. A lot of stuff that, it doesn't seem indigenous to You're right. Yeah. It just doesn't seem like it fits in. Yeah. I think they have developed foods that were more nutritious and could be harvested faster than what was natively available when they first came here. Well, yeah, because they had to do that from what I understand because of the orbit being different. They had to get used to the time. Crops would grow much slower. You would have people would die sooner. So yeah, I think they did it to make sure that their creations could survive, not to try to monopolize food markets and control people. I'd like to get your take on this. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of a microcosm of the much larger idea that, like we've been talking about Enki, trying to teach mankind in secret, exactly the kind of exactly what we're capable of, what our true power is. And that was the original secret society. Then that got taken over and corrupted and turned into these, societies that are using that knowledge for nefarious purposes. So I think it would probably be safe to say that this food thing happened the exact same way that the secret societies did. As you mentioned there, Scott, started out as, something that was supposed to be done for the good of the people, just like the original Brotherhood of the Snake, the Brotherhood of the Serpent, that Enki started to teach mankind about who we are. And then they took that over and boom, you get the power structure we have today, the priest class, the banking system, all of it. So thanks, Scott. Good email there. Here's one from John. John says, hey, Josh, first off, sorry for your recent loss of family members. And I feel the same way about the medical system as you described a while back. My mom died of cancer 2 years ago, and it was not as hard letting go as it is watching them suffer. Yeah. Oh, man. You got that right, buddy. You got that right. That was, oh, man. Tell you what. Yeah. That was very, very difficult for me. Because it just happened in no time. My dad went from being, perfectly normal to, in his bed, in a hospital bed, with his eyes closed, having convulsions. Yeah. I mean, just, I'm not there. Yeah. You're helpless, and my mom would not use marijuana for no reason. Nothing alternative, but she let them pump her full of morphine. Go figure. She was older, and her and my dad are of the reefer madness era. Well, that train of thought, anyway, you get what I'm saying. That's why I would bring this up. The topic of all these figureheads, ex-cop, I think Carter just came out and said that the drug war has failed, and Miracle Grow talking about wanting to expand into the medical marijuana field. What's up with this shit coming out now? And do you think this is a plan to document and single out pot users? Just run with the topic if you don't mind, because I really don't have too many questions to ask. Sorry, man, but thanks. I'll burn this one for you. Sorry for your loss. All right. Well, we probably got a lot of smokers in the audience, but yeah, man, thank you so much for the email. Thank you so much for your condolences. I appreciate that, brother. And I feel, I'm sorry about your loss of your mom as well. I'm glad that you feel me on that. I'm glad that you feel where I'm coming from. And what I've said. And if you hadn't seen that movie, John, if you didn't watch that movie I mentioned the other night, Brzezinski, the movie, definitely watch that movie, man, and get your family members to watch it too, because it's not a conspiracy film. It's not, it's just facts all the way across the board. And, and I think that's what's amazing about it, because it's, it's not tinfoil hat stuff. It's not crazy Nibiru, ancient alien stuff. It's just straight up, the story of what happened when, this doctor, Polish doctor from Texas, found the cure for cancer, and what the government did to him. Slandered him, tried to sue him, and then take his invention. After they said he he couldn't administer it to patients. After they said he was a crack nut and he was doing all this, they tried to steal his shit they say didn't work. It's unfucking believable. But back to your question. No, you know what? I'm glad you asked this question, John, because I actually had a story here. I said I wasn't going to cover any news tonight, but I had a story here in my stack that fits right in with this. And yes, I did see those other stories that you mentioned there about the Miracle Grow thing. What I see happening here is that there blanket legalization's coming. It's coming fast. It's coming down the pike. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot less people in jail, and we might have a population explosion. So right now, yeah, do I think that they're singling people out? So, well, maybe to a certain degree. I mean, certainly if you subscribe and get yourself you go online and subscribe and get yourself a monthly subscription to High Times into your house every month, you pretty much can be rest assured you're going to be on a list. But hell, man, I mean, everybody's on a list now. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody is. Everybody's on the list. There is no list anymore. There aren't people who aren't on the list or are on the list. Everybody's on the list unless they're in the power structure. That's the way it is. And hell, they monitor those people too. I think full blanket legalization is coming down the line to save the economy, to try to rebound the dollar, to keep OPEC nations in the dollar, to keep oil trade in the dollar. I think it's their only choice. And I think it's coming sooner than later. What they're trying to do right now is they are going full bore, busting people, as many people as they can, getting as many sentences and as many people in jail on paper right now as they can. They're going berserk. And I don't know if we have any Fish fans in the audience, the band Fish. I've never been too big of a fan of Fish. I don't dislike them, though. But they do have some quality music, and I think they are a very talented band and have a lot of talent, but just not really my thing, But I appreciate it. I did see them live, though, back in the 1990s. I'll tell you this. It was the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if I've ever told this story on there. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is like 1996, maybe. I can't remember. It was at a Fish concert in Austin, Texas. And I saw some guys roll up and just start. They rolled up with a fucking tree stump. There's these hillbillies like toothless ding 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 ding. I mean, just toothless hillbillies, right? Roll up in this van, jump out. I mean, they look like straight out of the backwoods, and they have a wheelbarrow with a fucking tree stump in it. And they're walking up and down the roads where the cars are at, yelling, acid, ice cold acid. Just walking up and down. And next thing I know, I proceed to see a line proceed to these guys. And these guys are just, they opened that shit up like it was 7-Eleven, man, like it was the Quickie Mart. They rolled up, distributed out their goods, and got in the fucking car and took off. It was the goddamnest thing I'd ever seen in my life, man. These guys, they were there and gone, and nobody said a word. But I always wondered. I was like, it wouldn't surprise me because Fish are kind of taken over as the Grateful Dead as the new Grateful Dead. And if you look into Fish and you look into their, where they went to college at, they went to college in Vermont, you look into the history of that college and how it was tied to the Marquis de Lafayette, you start to see a little connect because nobody makes it to that level unless they're connected somehow. It's just a fact. It doesn't mean that the people who, doesn't mean that people in the guys in Fish are blood drinking Satanists and are bad guys. I'm sure they're, awesome people and probably fun to hang out with and everything else. But, still that's a lot of times these bands, they don't even know why they've been allowed to reach those levels. They have no idea. They're completely clueless to it. But they are because of bloodlines and the rest of this. But on your question there, John, see, I see this stuff now. Police are going and setting up at Fish concerts because they know there's going to be tons of drugs there, and they're just going in and scooping in on these people, and they're just, this is a cash cow for them, And I tell you what, if I was in a band and I knew that the police were, and it's just been in the papers, were openly using my concerts, to get their arrests up and to get, I would have a problem with that. It's becoming a tradition for the third year in a row. Howard County Police conducted a targeted operation during a weekend series of Phish concerts at Meriwether Post Pavilion in Columbia. Police arrested 24 people, 21 for drug-related charges at 2 Phish concerts on June 11th and 12th, and handed out 22 citations for underage drinking. In 2010, police made 21 arrests at 2 Phish concerts in June and wrote 7 citations for underage drinking. In 2009, police made 31 arrests and seized $12,000 in illegal drug-related money at a single Phish concert in August. This year, officers were working undercover, seized marijuana, hashish, ecstasy, nitrous oxide, and methamphetamine, police said. Additionally, 3 vehicles containing drugs and $2,000 in drug-related money were seized. Of the 21 people arrested for drug-related charges, 11 were charged with drug distribution. 5 people were charged with drug possession with the intent to distribute, and 2 individuals were charged with both. A number of the people who were arrested approached plainclothes officers attempting to sell drugs. And our increased enforcement and presence at Phish concerts is based on our past experience with some increased drug activity. And what's funny about that is that how many tax dollars they wasted, to do this, and netted, 24 people. They spent way more money doing this, but this is what they're trying to do now. It's, and I think bands that don't stand up for this and because you can't create an environment for people to come to your concerts and do drugs, and then when that environment gets out there to a lot of people, and then the cops, big enough to where the cops find out about it and they start busting your concerts. You created that environment in the first place. It's your baby. It's your creation. You're responsible for it. Everybody knows that if you go to a Phish concert, you're going to do drugs. It's just a fact. And don't give me that shit about, it's about the music. Yeah, it is about the music, but it's also about the drugs. And every Phish head knows that. But what I'm saying is, I think that's why this is going on. I think that's why they're doing this with the Phish concerts and the rest of this. They're doing this now while they can, because the only thing that's going to save our economy is full blanket legalization all the way across the board. So thanks, John. Thanks for the email. Good stuff there. And I hope that helps with your question. I don't see any other emails tonight, but if you've got any you want to get in, here we go. Here's one. Right as I said that one came in, we got one here from Lori. Hi, Lori. Thanks for sending me an email. This sounds like some straight up Freemason skull and bone stuff. No need to read it on air. This kind of stuff I'm not so sure of. Would like a comment on it, either through email or on air. H.P. Lovecraft? Yeah, it's H.P. Lovecraft. Are you not familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, Lori? Cthulhu and all that stuff? Well, that's what this is from. Lovecraft.ru is the website. So, yeah, this is about H.P. Lovecraft, the author. This is some of his stuff. Yeah. His stuff's full of occult, real occult type stuff. His stuff, that's what's so interesting about it. It toes the line between fiction and reality. Is it fiction? Is it reality? Some people read it and go, oh, this is fiction. And then you look at it and you go, oh, is it fiction? Or is this reality disguised as fiction so that only those with eyes that know to see can see it? And that's exactly what it is. So if you've never read H.P. Lovecraft, Lori, never been a better time than now. Definitely get some of his books and read them. They're very, very interesting. Lots of interesting things in them. So there you go. But anyway, if you want to get an email in tonight, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And we'd love to have you in there. But we're going to take a break and come back. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue in our reading, our new book of reading that we started last night. and that is The Lost Book of Enki. So we hope that you'll stick around, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes. This is the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio. Back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight. And this segment of the broadcast, we're going to get into The Lost Book of Enki. We're going to continue where we left off last night. We're still in the introduction. We haven't even got to the first tablet yet. The part we're going to be starting on tonight is called Attestation. The words of Indubsar, master scribe, son of Eridu city, servant of the Lord Enki, great God. So that's what it starts. And by the way, I did get my hard copy of this out and compare it to this just to make sure there weren't any discrepancies. And yeah, it's all good. So there you go. Yeah, we just played Megadeth here. Somebody in the chat room earlier was talking about, I said something about Dave Mustaine writing Jump in the Fire, which everybody thinks is a Metallica song. No, boys and girls, do your homework. Find out who really wrote all those songs. Find out why they suck so bad. God, Metallica sucks. They are horrible.
Suck Satan's cock, Metallica. Yeah, suck that shit.
But anyway, Dave Mustaine, it's funny. I would love to interview Dave Mustaine. I think it'd be fascinating. I think he's an awesome musician. He seems to be pretty attached to old Jonesy, which is kind of, kind of suspect. But he talked about he became a Christian and all this stuff because, well, what happened was apparently he had dabbled in black magic and stuff and put hexes on two different people that he claimed worked. One of which I think was I have a speculation about what those are. I think he cursed Kirk Hammett to be a homosexual who can't play guitar worth a fuck, and he cursed Lars Ulrich with a micropenis. And apparently those two things worked like a charm and scared the fuck out of old Dave. And he in 2002 had lost nerve damage in his hand and couldn't. He's that was it. He quit just disbanded his band Megadeth, and at that time he took that as a sign. Oh shit, this is my because if it had been his right hand, it would have been okay. It was his left hand. The one he shreds with, the one he makes all his money with. So with that, he kind of was convinced that his micropenis curse and his horrible guitar playing homosexual curse that he put on Kirk Hammett. I'm serious, man. I'm being serious about this. I'm not even joking. It's true. So he became a Christian because he thought that was kind of he was getting the return curse on his hand. And so after that, he wouldn't allow bands that use satanic symbology and occult symbology to go on tour with Megadeth, but their fans had wanted them to tour with Slayer very bad, and because of that, and Slayer, I mean, most of these guys, it's an act anyway. Some of them it's not, but you know what I found? The ones that really say that they really are real deal Satanists, like Golgoroth and some of those bands, boy, they suck. I mean, if that's Satan's music, Satan is needs to go back to the fucking drawing board, because if that's the best Satan has to offer, then maybe it is. Maybe we do need to go with the Lord. I mean, my goodness, seriously, those like Golgoroth, those guys are Satan, Satan. God, they just suck. But Dave, so he won't allow these bands that have occult symbology go on tour with them. But yet, I noticed in his most recent album, 2009 album, Endgame, which he admittedly named because of his being influenced by Alex Jones' film of the same name. On the inside cover of this album, Dave's wearing a double-headed eagle shirt. And I saw an interview, or actually I think it was one he did with Alex Jones, and he talked about the G on the front of it. The G in Megadeth on the front of it is in the middle of it, like the Masonic G. And he admittedly says that the G is coming out of a Stargate. So I'm sitting there going, I mean, and some of his band members have occult-looking shirts on too in the picture where he's wearing the double-headed eagle. So they're going, did you think we wouldn't notice that, or are you just because you know what? I think it may be I think it may not even be that he's doing that on purpose. Maybe he just flat doesn't know. I don't know, but to me, it just seems kind of odd. He would have a problem with bands using occult symbology, but yet he's wearing a double-headed eagle shirt. I mean, that's the double-headed eagle, folks, is right up there with the pentagram. I mean, it's whether you know that or not, or whether you are aware of that information or not. If you aren't, you need to be aware of it. Maybe Dave's not aware of that fact. Dave Mustaine, if you're listening, if you do not know that the double-headed eagle is an occult symbol right up there with the pentagram, anything else you might have a problem with, and you need to be educated about that, my friend. Same thing with the G and the Stargate. So it's just, I just kind of was taken aback by someone who would claim that they're against occult symbology, but yet you're using occult symbology. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up because the chatters were talking about that earlier. I thought it was kind of an interesting thing, But yeah, I mean, I'd love to interview Dave Mustaine. I mean, dude, he went on Jonesy's show, right? Somebody needs to send him a copy of The Secret Ride. That's what they need to do. And go, hey Dave, maybe you need to think of that Jonesy thing again. You thought you were mad when they kicked you out of Metallica, Sucktalica. You're going to be even madder when you find out Jonesy isn't what you think he is. But hell, they may be. Maybe they're all on the same team. Maybe not. I don't want to just say somebody's on somebody else's team if they're not. I did cover. Somebody sent me an email asking me about the Nebraska nuclear plant. I covered that way earlier in the week, so maybe you need to catch up on this week's archives. Thank you very much. Again, the website where this broadcast originates from, theglobalreality.com. Please use the chip and banner and donate button there. We have to pay the stream server bill, so we need some help, so please donate if you can. My cat has now decided to join me for the broadcast. He's rubbing on the mic. Hi, Hank. What's up? Trying to do a radio show here, dude. Yeah. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, radio show? What? Give a fuck about that. All right. Are you going to sit down or are you going to what are you going to do? All right. You going to park right there? Cool. We're going to get into reading the Lost Book of Enki now. In the 7th year after the great calamity, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, I was summoned by my master, the Lord Enki, great God, benevolent fashioner of mankind, omnipotent and merciful. I was among the remnants of Eridu who had escaped to the arid steppe, just as the evil wind was nearing the city. The evil wind nearing the city, a nuclear blast. And I wandered off into the wilderness to seek withered twigs for firewood. And I looked up and to behold, a whirlwind came out of the south. Maybe it was a UFO landing. There was a reddish brilliance about it, and it made no sound. Well, a lot of UFOs have been described as making no sound, haven't they? And as it reached the ground, 4 straight feet spread out from its belly, and brilliance appeared. I mean, come on. 4? You got to give me a fucking break. 4 little feet come right out of it. Lands just classic flying saucer here. This is what I'm saying. Now you read that and it just makes total sense to you why the first thing they did during the invasion of Iraq in 2003 was to invade the Baghdad Museum and take all of these cylinder seals and clay tablets that have all this information in it. When people started figuring out that it openly talks about UFOs landing on the ground, that started to become a problem for the power structure, considering Saddam Hussein was about to create this gigantic new library and put all of this stuff out there for people to see. And what they were going to see, he was going to also reveal was that the inhabitants of Iraq that originated there from ancient Mesopotamia were truly God's chosen people. And that was actually the land talked about in biblical times, and that, the Jews and what we know as Semites, not non-Arabs, were the imposters. So, that combined with, a library where you could go see for yourself and translate for yourself stuff like this, where it's clearly talking about UFOs landing on the ground. I mean, my goodness, now you know what this whole thing has been about. Now you know why they're obsessed with antiquities. 4 straight feet spread out from its belly, and the brilliance appeared. Brilliance means a bright light. So 4 legs came out of a whirlwind with no sound, and a bright light came out of the center of it. And I threw myself to the ground and prostrated myself, where I knew that it was a divine vision. Of course, UFOs land. These people don't have any idea what this technology is. Their only reference point is that it's God's. And when I lifted my eyes, there were 2 divine emissaries standing near me. And they had the faces of men, and their garments were sparkling like burnished brass. And they called me by name and spoke to me, saying, "You are summoned by the great God, the Lord Enki. Fear not, you are blessed. And we are here to take you aloft and carry you unto his retreat in the land of Magan, on the island amidst the river of Magan, where the sluices are." Sluices. S-L-U-I-S-E-S. Don't know what that is, but S-L-U-I-C-E-S. Sluices. And they spoke. The whirlwind lifted itself as a fiery chariot and was gone. And they took me by my hands, each one grasping me by one hand, and they lifted me and carried me swiftly between the earth and the heavens. Yeah, our first documented abduction here. And carried me between the earth and heavens as the eagle soars, and I could see the land and the waters. I mean, my goodness, classic UFO abduction. The plains and the mountains, and they let me down on the island at the gateway of the great God's abode. And the moment that they let go of my hands, a brilliance as I had never seen before engulfed and overwhelmed me. And I collapsed on the ground as though voided of the spirit of life. My life senses returned to me as if awakened from the deepest sleep by the sound of the calling of my name. I was in some kind of an enclosure. It was dark, but there was also an aura. Then my name was called again by the deepest of voices. And although I could hear it, I could not tell whence the voice came, nor can I see whoever it was that spoke. And I said, "Here I am." Then the voice said to me, "In Dubsar, offspring of Adapa, I have chosen you to be my scribe, that you write down my words on the tablets." And all at once there appeared a glowing in one part of the enclosure. And I saw a place arranged like a scribal workplace, a scribe's table and a scribe's stool. And there were finely shaped stones upon the table, but I saw no clay tablets nor containers of wet clay. And there lay upon the table only one stylus, and it glistened in the glowing as no reed stylus ever did. That was a computer. He scribed it on a computer, yeah. And the voice spoke up again, saying, "In Dubsar, son of Eridu city, my faithful servant, I am your Lord Enki. I have summoned you to write down my words, for I am much distraught by what has befallen mankind by the great calamity. It is my wish to record the true course of the events, to let gods and men alike know that my hands are clean. Not since the great deluge had such a calamity befallen the earth and the gods and the earthlings. But the great deluge was destined to happen. Not so the great calamity. This one, 7 years ago, need not have happened. It could have been prevented, and I, Enki, did all I could to prevent it. Alas, I failed. And was it fate or was it destiny? In the future shall it be judged, for at the end of days a day of judgment there shall be. On that day the earth shall quake, and the river shall change course. And there shall be darkness at noon, and a fire in the heavens in the night. The day of the returning celestial God will it be. And who shall survive, and who would perish? Who shall be rewarded, and who will be punished? Gods and men alike on that day shall it be discovered. For what shall come to pass by what had passed shall be determined, and what was destined shall in a cycle be repeated. And what was fated and only by the heart's will occurring for good, or I shall for judgment come. The voice fell silent. Then the great Lord spoke up again, saying, It is for this reason that I will tell the true account of the beginnings and of the prior times and of the olden times. For in the past the future lies hidden. For 40 days and 40 nights shall I speak, and you will write. 40 shall be the count of the days and the nights of your task here. For 40 is my sacred number among the gods. For 40 days and 40 nights you shall neither eat nor drink. Only this once of bread and water you shall partake, and it shall sustain you for the duration of your task. And the voice paused, and all at once there appeared a glowing in another part of the enclosure. And I saw a table, and upon it a plate and a cup. And I rose up there too, and there was bread on the plate and water in the cup. And the voice of the great Lord Enki spoke up again, saying, In Dubsar, eat the bread and drink the water, and be sustained for 40 days and 40 nights. And I did as directed. And therefore the voice directed me to sit myself at the scribal table, and the glowing there intensified. I could see neither door nor aperture where I was, yet the glowing was as strong as the midday sun. And the voice said, In Dubsar, the scribe, what do you see? And I looked, and I saw the glowing rate upon the table, and the stones, and the stylus. And I said, I see stone tablets, and their hue is blue as pure as the sky. And I see a stylus, as I have never seen before, its stem unlike any reed, and its tip like an eagle's talon. And the voice said, These are the tablets upon which you shall inscribe my words. By my wish they have been cut of the finest lapis lazuli, each with 2 smooth faces provided. And the stylus you see is a god's handiwork, its handle made of electrum, and its tip of divine crystal. It shall firmly fit in your hand, and what you shall engrave with it shall be as easy as marking upon wet clay. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the front face. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the back of each stone tablet. Do not deviate from my words and utterances. And there was a pausing, and I touched one of the stones, and the surface thereof felt like a smooth skin, soft to the touch. And I picked up the holy stylus, and it felt like a feather in my hand. And then the great god Enki began to speak, and I began to write down his words exactly as he had spoken them. At times his voice was strong, at times almost a whisper. At times there was a joy or pride in his voice, at times pain or agony. And as one tablet was inscribed on all its faces, I took another to continue. And when the final words were spoken, the great god paused, and I could hear a great sigh, and he said, In Dubsar, my servant, for 40 days and 40 nights you have faithfully recorded my words. Your task here is completed. Now take hold of another tablet, and on it you shall write your own attestation. And at the end thereof, as a witness, mark it with your seal, and take the tablet and put it together with those other tablets in the divine chest. For at a designated time, chosen ones shall come hither, and they shall find the chest and the tablets. And they shall learn all that I have dictated to you, and that true account of the beginnings and the prior times, and the olden times, and the great calamity shall henceforth be known as the words of the Lord Enki. And it shall be a book of witnessing of the past, and a book of foretelling the future. For the future in the past lies, and the first things shall also be the last things. Which means, if in the beginning there were gods on earth, that means in the end, there's going to be gods on earth. And there was a pause, and I took the tablets, and I put them one by one in their correct order in the chest. And the chest was made of acacia wood, and it was inlaid with gold on the outside. Sounds like the Ark of the Covenant, doesn't it? And the voice of my Lord said, Now close the chest cover and fasten its lock. And I did as directed. And there was another pause, and my Lord Enki said, And as for you in Dubsar, with a great God you have spoken. And though you have not seen me in my presence, you have been. Therefore you are blessed, and my spokesman to the people you shall be. You shall admonish them to be righteous, for in that lies a good and long life. And you shall comfort them, for in 70 years the cities will be rebuilt and the crops shall sprout again. There will be peace, but there will also be wars. New nations will become mighty. Kingdoms shall rise and fall. The olden gods shall step aside, and new gods shall decree the fates. But at the end of days, destiny shall prevail. And of that future it is foretold in my words about the past. All of that in Dubsar to the people you shall tell. And there was a pause and a silence, and I, Undubsar, bowed to the ground and said, but how will I know what to say? And the voice of the Lord Enki said, the signs will be in the heavens, and the words to utter shall come to you in dreams and in visions. And after you are there, and after you, there will be another chosen prophet and other chosen prophets. And in the end, there will be a new earth and a new heaven. And for prophets, there will be no more need. And then there was silence, and the auras were extinguished, and the spirit left me. And when I regained my senses, I was in the fields outside Eridu. So there you go. There's the end of that. Now we're moving on here. The words of Lord Enki, synopsis of the first tablet, lamentation over the desolation of Sumir. So we'll take a break, come back, and get into this next part of the book. Interesting stuff here, isn't it? Man, oh man, I tell you what, you know, again, it just comes clear to you as to what, you know, what and why now. I think it's more important to read this stuff now more than ever because, you know, we've seen what's happened in Iraq. We've seen what's happening in Yemen now. You know, they're making these moves. If we don't pay attention and see what this stuff really going on with these cylinder seals and all these antiquities, man, these guys are going to achieve their goal. And the only thing standing in their way right now is us, armed with information. So this is going to be interesting stuff. But we'll continue reading after the break. We're going to take a break, come back, and then we will get more into this. Looking forward to it. This is the Global Reality right here on the Global. Back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us and staying up late with us here tonight. We're going to continue in our reading from the Lost Book of Enki. Interesting stuff here. And especially interesting to sort of, that's why I wanted to follow up the Gods of Eden that we read with William Bramley with this one. You know, follow up now that we got the premise, now that we figure, you know, we've gotten that added into the vocabulary. I think that was the best thing I think that I took away from reading that. And hopefully you took that away too, was that it sort of added, you know, the other pieces of the picture to this worldview of, you know, the New World Order and the Illuminati and the whole thing. It did for me anyway. And I think that now that since we've done that, now reading, you know, actually stuff that's, you know, from the Sumerian tablets and whatnot is highly interesting. So we're going to jump back into that. TheGlobalReality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. That is my website where this broadcast originates from. And it says, I got an email here, another email from Lori. Lori says, hey, Josh, I'm glad you're reading this book. I really enjoy your commentary while reading these books. A lot of things pop in your head that aren't popping in mine. While you're reading Gods of Eden, I started reading the Lost Book of Enki. You started reading that as I was reading Gods of Eden. That's odd. It's a hard read and kind of reads like the Bible. This father, son, brothers, cousins, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'd looked up some of the changes of some of these guys in the book. Like Murdoch is also Ra. Don't know if they are right or not. Yeah, well, that's true. Murdoch, Ra, you know, a lot of the ones that started out as Sumerian ones later became the verbatim the same ones that were in Egyptian mythology and stuff. So yeah, absolutely the same gods. They just had different names. But anyway, there you go. So thanks so much to Lori for that. Again, chipping banner donate button is there at the website, and we need to be getting in more support than we have over this past week. We need an influx of cash right now because we're just trying to get getting back on the track and get back on getting be able to get the film out very soon. I'm shooting for middle of July for Seagrind Volume 2. And just trying to, after losing a couple of weeks with all the stuff that was going on, I'm trying to get back on doing that. So any support we can get, chipping banner, donate button, anything we can get in right now would be great. And we don't get a lot of stuff over the weekends when we don't have shows. And, we could really use it right now. So because with paying the stream bill and stuff right now, we're not going to have anything we're going to be at zero after that. So we could use some help right now. I want to put that out there and let everybody know that it is serious. I'm not just saying, donate like it's every day or something. We do need to get some stuff in. If you're hearing this on a rebroadcast or something, then please donate if you can. All right. Synopsis of the first tablet, lamentation over the desolation of Samir. How the gods fled their cities as the nuclear cloud spread. The debates in the Council of the Gods, the fateful decision to unleash the weapons of terror. The origin of the gods and the awesome weapons on Nibiru. Nibiru's North-South wars, unification and dynastic rules. Nibiru's place in the solar system. A dwindling atmosphere causes climate changes. Efforts to obtain gold to shield the atmosphere fail. Alalu, a usurper, uses nuclear weapons to stir volcanic gases. Anu, a dynastic heir, disposes Alalu. Alalu steals a spacecraft and escapes from Nibiru. The first tablet. So now we're reading from the first tablet. Here we go. The words of the Lord Enki, firstborn son of Anu, who reigns on Nibiru. With heavy spirit I utter laments. Laments that are bitter fill my heart. How smitten is the land, its people delivered to the evil wind, its stables abandoned, its sheepfolds empty. Yeah, it was, Samir was reduced to dust. That's why the Sumerians just disappeared. They got wiped out by a nuclear war. How smitten are the cities? Their people piled up as dead corpses afflicted by the evil wind. How smitten are the fields, their vegetation withered, touched by the evil wind. How smitten are the rivers, nothing swims anymore, pure sparkling waters turned into poison. Of its black-headed people, Sumir is emptied, gone is all life. Of its cattle and sheep, Samir is emptied. Silent is the hum of churning milk. In its glorious cities, only the wind howls. Death is the only smell. The temples whose heads to heaven arose by their gods have been abandoned. Of lordship and kingship command there is none. Scepter and tiara are now gone. On the banks of the two great rivers, once lush and life-giving, only weeds grow. No one treads the highways. No one seeks out the roads. Flourishing Sumir is like an abandoned desert. How smitten is the land, home of gods and men. On that land a calamity fell, one unknown to man. A calamity that mankind had never before seen, one that could not be withstood. On all the lands from west to east, a disruptive hand of terror was placed. The gods in their cities were helpless as man. An evil wind, a storm born in a distant plain, a great calamity wrought in its path. A death-dealing wind born in the west, its way to the east is made, its course set by fate. A storm devouring as the deluge by wind and not by water, a destroyer by poisoned air, not tidal waves overwhelming. By fate, not destiny, was it engendered. The great gods and their council, the great calamity had caused. By Enlil and Nirhashag, it was permitted. I alone for a halt was beseeching. Day and night to accept what the heavens decree, I argue, to no avail. So he's basically saying he tried to stop it. They wouldn't listen to him. Ninurta, Enlil's warrior son, and Nergal, my very own son, poisoned weapons in the great plain, then unleashed them. That an evil wind shall follow the brilliance we knew not. Thy now cry in agony. They act like they didn't know what these weapons were going to do. They'd never used them before. You almost see them as almost in the same place that we are now with our technology. It's almost as if that's where they were at, a little bit more advanced than us. They could travel places, but, but before anybody ever dropped a nuclear weapon, nobody knew what it was going to do, even though they had that technology, and knew about it, but just didn't, they didn't know. Seems like this was kind of the same way. In their holy cities, the gods stood disbelieving as the evil wind toward Sumer made its way. One after another, the gods fled their cities, their temples abandoned to the wind. In my city, Eridu, as the poison cloud approached, I could do nothing to stop it. Escape to the open steppe, to the people I gave instructions. With Ninki, my spouse, the city I abandoned. In his city, Nippur, place of the bond heaven earth, Enlil could do nothing to stop it. The evil wind against Nippur was onrushing in his celestial boat, UFO. Pretty clear, celestial boat. Give me a break. Enlil and his spouse hurriedly took off. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, the tough gods, these almighty, all-powerful, all-loving gods, puke. Drop nuclear weapons on us, then get in their fucking spaceships and haul ass out of here. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? As above, so below, right? Sounds like what they want to do to us. The past is prologue. Like what it said at the beginning of this, something to that effect. What's happened in the past determines the future. So the gods, the extraterrestrials, they dropped nuclear weapons on us and they hauled ass in their spaceships and got the fuck out of here and then, left us all down here to die. That very well could be what's going to happen again. A lot of evidence pointing that direction, isn't there? In Sumer's city of kingship, Nanar to his father Enlil for help cried. In the place of the temple that to the heaven in 7 steps rises, Nanar, the hand of fate, refused to heed. My father who begot me, great God who to had granted kingship, turn the evil wind away, Nanar pleaded. Great God who decrees the fates, let and its people be spared, your praises to continue. Nanar appealed. Enlil answered his son, Nanar, noble son, your wondrous city kingship was granted, eternal reign it was not granted. Take hold of your spouse, Ningal, flee the city. Even I who decree fates, its destiny I cannot bend. Thus did Enlil my brother speak, alas, not a destiny it was. A calamity none greater since the deluge, gods and earthlings has befallen, alas, not a destiny it was. The great deluge was destined to happen. The great calamity of the death-dealing storm was not. So they're saying that, again, really reinforcing that idea that the great deluge, the great flood, was destined to happen, but the death-dealing storm was not. Well, what makes that interesting is that historically people are often confused. Because there was more than one great flood on this planet. There's more than one great deluge. And the reason that we know that is true scientifically is, again, because of that layer of pre-flood ash. So according to this, we have the great deluge. We have this great calamity of nuclear weapons unleashed, which, again, all across the earth, deep underground, there's a layer of pre-deluge, pre-flood ash. So according to this, we had a great deluge. We have the nuclear decimation of Earth, reducing it to ash. Then we had another flood after that at some point. And that's proven because it's proven that there was a flood after this event that caused the Earth to be reduced to ashes. That's very interesting. And you see that reference that there was more than one flood. You hear that talked about. By the breach of a vow, by a council decision, it was caused. By weapons of terror was it created. By a decision, not destiny, were the poisoned weapons unleashed. By deliberation was the lot cast. So they're saying that this was done with, impunity. This was done on purpose. There was no accident that these weapons were, these nuclear weapons were deployed. Against Marduk, my firstborn, did the two sons destruction direct. Vengeance was in their hearts. Ascendancy is not Marduk's to grasp. Enlil's firstborn shouted, with weapons I shall oppose him, Ninurta said. Of people he raised an army, Babili as Earth's navel to declare, Nergal, Marduk's brother, so shouted. In the council of the great gods, words of venom were spread. Day and night I raised my opposing voice. Peace I counsel, deploring haste. For the second time the people have raised his heavenly image. Why does opposing continue? I asked in pleading. Have all the instruments been checked? Did not the era of Marduk in the heavens arrive? I once more inquired. Ningish Zeta, my very son, other signs of heaven cited. His heart, I knew, Marduk's injustice to him could not forgive. Nanar to Enlil on Earthborn was unrelenting too. Marduk, my temple in the north city, his own abode made, so he said. Ishkur, Enlil's youngest son, demanded punishment. In my lands to whore after him the people he made, he said. Utu, son of Nanar, Marduk's son Nabu, his wrath directed. And this goes on, and this is like on and on. This is like an argument. I'm going to, I'm going to fuck you up. No, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to fuck you up. No, I'm going to fuck you up. On, pissing contest, essentially. Nergal, lord of the lower domain, ferociously was demanding, let the olden weapons of terror for obliteration be used. The olden weapons of terror for obliteration, meaning that those were, something from the weapons of the past of this civilization. Kind of like what we see people in the future will see nuclear weapons on Earth. Let the olden weapons of terror for obliteration be used. At my own son I gazed in disbelief, for brother against brother the terror weapons have been forsworn. Sounds familiar. I mean, why do we think we're in a constant state of war? I mean, that was Bramley's sort of whole premise for the gods of Eden. Well, there you go. That's all we know. That's what the people who created us, or who we call gods, who we are the victims of a gigantic science experiment of. We are, no wonder nobody's ever tried to, no wonder other extraterrestrial races haven't tried to get a hold of us, man. No, we're the bastard sons of the universe. We are. We're the redheaded stepchildren of the galaxy. And we wonder why we arm against each other, and why we have weapons, and we're all people, man. Why do we want to kill each other? Because the people of the bloodlines who are in positions of power around the globe, from presidents to congressmen to senators to royalty to the crown to all across the board, banking houses, religious institutions, all of these bloodline people are trying to become gods themselves. And to become like their gods, their creators, our creators, to become like them because they feel that because they are of the pure bloodline, that gives them the right to do it. It gives them the right to do everything that their creators did. And if that means endless war and everybody killing each other, then so be it, because that's what they did. For brother against brother, the terror weapons have been forsworn. Instead of consent, there was silence. In the silence, Enlil opened his mouth. Punishment there must be. Like birds without wings, the evildoers shall be. Marduk and Nabu of our heritage are depriving us of our heritage. Let them deprive the place of the celestial chariots. I'm sort of reading this slow and kind of, it's just, all the words are kind of reversed into what we would say it, so I'm trying to reverse them a little bit and say them, so they're easier to understand for you. Let this place be scorched to oblivion, Ninurta shouted. Let the one who scorches be me. I mean, let me do it. Let me fucking set this place on fire. Let's scorch this motherfucker to oblivion. Let's drop, but let me pull the trigger. That's what Ninurta is saying. Excited, Nergal stood up and shouted, let the evildoer cities also be upheavaled. The sinning cities Let me obliterate. Let the annihilator my name be thereafter. The earthlings by us created, the earthlings that were created by us must not be harmed. The righteous with the sinners must not be perished, I forcefully said. Nanarshog, my creating helpmate, was consenting. The matter is between the gods alone to settle. The people must not be harmed. I knew from the celestial abode to the discussions was giving much heed. I knew who determines fates from his celestial abode, his voice made heard. Let the weapons of terror be used this once. Let the place of the rocket ships be obliterated. Let the people be spared. Let Ninurta the Scorcher be. Let Nergal be the Annihilator. So did Enlil announce the decision. To them a secret of the gods I shall reveal. The hiding place of the terror weapons to them I shall disclose. The two sons, one mine, one his, to his inner chamber Enlil summoned. Nergal, as he went by me, averted his gaze to me. Alas, I cried out without words, brother has turned against brother. Are the prior times fated to repeat? A secret from the olden times to them Enlil was revealing. They had entrusted in their hands the weapons of terror. Clad with terror, with a brilliance they are unleashed, and they touch to dust and heap dust, turn everything into dust, essentially is what they're saying. For brother against brother on earth they were forsworn, and neither region to effect. Now the oath was undone like a broken jar in useless pieces. The two sons, full of glee, with quickened step from Enlil's chambers emerged and the weapons departing. I mean, they launched the weapons. The other gods turned their back to the cities. None of his own calamity had a foreboding. Which means, they got the fuck out of there. Now this is the account of the prior times and of the weapons of terror. Before the prior times was the beginning. After the prior times was the olden times. In the olden times, the gods came to earth and created the earthlings. In the prior time, none of the gods were on earth, and the earthlings were not yet fashioned. They were not yet made. In the prior times, the abode of the gods was on their own planet. Nibiru is its name. A great planet, reddish in radiance, around the sun, an elongated circuit Nibiru makes. It has a long orbit, allegedly. For a time in the cold is Nibiru engulfed, for part of its circuit by the sun strongly is it heated. So every time it does a rotation, it gets so close to the Earth that it heats up. But because it's got such a slow orbit, life was able to flourish there, essentially is what they're saying. A thick atmosphere envelops Nibiru by volcanic eruptions. All manner of life this atmosphere sustains, but without the atmosphere, there will only be dying, perishing. In the cold period, the inner heat of Nibiru keeps the planet warm, like a warm coat. In the hot period, it shields Nibiru from the sun's scorching rays. In the midst, I guess, in the springtime, it rains and it holds and releases to lakes and streams, giving rise. Lush vegetation, our atmosphere feeds and protects. All manner of life in the waters and on land has been caused to sprout. After eons of time, our own species sprouted, and by our own essence, an eternal seed was used to procreate. Which basically says, an eternal seed was used to, something came along and created them. They may be the gods that created mankind, but somebody created them too. Who was it? See, we're not even ready to ask that question as a people on this planet, are we? That if there is a god or gods, most likely that god or gods has a god too, someone who created them. Well, who is that? This is going to start to open up more questions than it is answers. As our numbers grew, to many regions of Nibiru, our ancestors spread. Some tilled the land, some four-legged creatures shepherded. Like, they had dogs, is what it means. I knew dogs were from another planet, fucking cats too. Bastards. I love dogs and cats, though. They're great. Fucking love them. And sometimes, man, you get a good one. You're like, man, you are not from this planet. My cat, I don't know where the fuck planet my cat's from. He ain't from here, though. I swear he's a spy from Sirius. Tries to get on computers, gets on people's computers and type shit. It's out of control. Some lived on the mountains, some in the valleys, made their home. Some of them made their homes in the valleys, it's saying. Rivalries occurred, encroachments happened, clashes occurred, sticks became weapons. Clans gathered into tribes, and then two great nations faced each other. The nation of the North took arms against the nation of the South. And it talks about that they threw spears, which they call missiles, and they weapons of thunder and brilliance. You increase the terror. So they started out with, sticks, and then it became weapons, guns, and then missiles, and then weapons of thunder. So, it kind of sounds like the evolution of our weapons, doesn't it? First it was sticks, then it was, bows and arrows and spears and all that, and swords. Then it became, bullets and missiles and weapons of thunder, which, that's our modern day weaponry, isn't it? Weather warfare, HARP and chemtrails. So, I mean, that almost, wow, that almost sounds like there was, an evolution of weapons in the same way we've seen an evolution of weapons. A war long and fierce engulfed the planet. Brother amassed against brother. There was death and destruction both north and south. For many circuits, desolation reigned the land, and all life was diminished. So for many orbits, for many rotations around the sun, there was no life on Nibiru at all. Then a truce was declared, and peacemaking was conducted. Let the nations be united, the emissaries said to one another. There they are, forming their world order. So that's just great, isn't it? They have a war, brother against brother on the whole planet. Everybody wipes everybody out except for a few, and then the few that are left form a new world order where everybody's united. Sound familiar? I mean, that's what as above, so below means, folks. That's why they take that so seriously. As in the macrocosm, so in the microcosm. I mean, it looks like this is lining up to be our fate as well. Well, you know what? Just as it said here, is it fate or is it destiny? It was destiny for that flood to happen, but it was the fate of them to be wiped out by nuclear weapons. Well, this doesn't have to be our fate. Our fate can be determined by our actions or our inactions. But if we continue to not, do anything, if we, I mean, my goodness, like I've talked about, we got listeners in like 30-something countries now. Our listenership has just been going through the roof, but yet we have 3 or 4 or 5 out of, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of listeners that donate and support our work. Are we going to choose to do like we've always done and be lazy and assume this is somebody else's problem to handle? Or are we going to step up and change fate? Because if not, then this is what is going to be our fate. If we don't get involved and do something, this is going to be our fate. We are going to suffer the same fate that the people of old did. And something tells me the elite want it that way. That's exactly what they're planning. I want to play with the big boys. I want to play at the big boy level. We need cash to do that. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable, just the epiphanies from reading stuff on air. It just blows me away. Let there be one throne on Nibiru, one king to reign over all. There it is, the new game's in town. Divide and conquer. Kill everybody, blow everybody, create all-out warfare, and then come in and pick up the pieces and create a new order. That's what their agenda is. Let a leader from north or from south by lot be chosen. One king supreme to be. If he be from north, let south choose a female to be his spouse, an equal queen to reign alongside him. If he's from the south, if they choose one from the south, let someone from the north, a female from the north, be his spouse. Husband and wife, let them be as one flesh to become. Let their firstborn son be the successor. Let a unified dynasty thus be formed, unity on Nibiru forever to establish. They set up a fucking monarchy is what they did. You know, they set up the new game. Who's going to run the new game? They wipe everybody out, and then they set up a new game under that. And the people 100, 200, 300 years from now have no idea why life is the way it is, and nobody really questions it, and people just going around about their business, forgetting that 200, 300, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, everybody died, and somebody came in and set up the new game that they controlled, and people just think it's day to day, and they never know what happened. You see what happened to us? The same thing. They did it here. They did it on their planet, and then they seeded us with the ability to do it again ourselves. We've gone down the same road they are. You know, you see these, we call them vicious cycles. You know, a father is an alcoholic and a wife beater, and so, you know, and then the son grows up and becomes an alcoholic and a wife beater, and then his son grows up and becomes, and you know, it's a vicious cycle. But all it takes to break that vicious cycle is one person standing up and saying, no more, not me. I'm not going to be the one that continues that vicious cycle. It ends here. And that's what we have to do as a people, folks. It's our only hope. We have to say, no, we are not going to allow this to play out the way it's played out before. Every person on this planet needs to know this information. We've got to get this out to the people. People need to know that our destiny is going to be death and destruction and the setting up of a new power structure, resetting the game, resetting the table, starting it all over again. And that's exactly what they want to do, because that's what their predecessors did. Their gods, the ones that tinkered on earth and created us in this whole thing. But someone can stand up to this eventually and say no more. And by God, there's never been a better time than now. It's got to be us. We have to be the ones that say, no, no, no. This vicious cycle ends here. Otherwise, it's going to continue on. And that's exactly what the elite want. And I bet they never counted on the fact we'd ever even identify it. But now that we have, it can't be held back anymore. The royal throne into one flesh combined, an unbroken line of kingship established, just like they did on earth. The first king after peace was made, a warrior of the north he was, a mighty commander. He was true and fair to the people. He was chosen because his degrees were accepted by all of the people. He built a splendid city to live in, and it was called Agade, which meant unity. So see how even the title of the city was uniting, you know, bringing everything together, bringing together the new order. For his reign, a royal title he was granted, and it was the Celestial One. His name was On. And his name On means the Celestial One. He strong-armed people into reestablishing new laws and regulations on the land. He appointed governors for each land and created restoration and reclamation tasks for the people. Of him in the royal annals, thus it was recorded, on the lands unified, peace on Nibiru he restored. He built a new city, the canals he repaired, provided people to the food, and there was abundance in the lands. For his spouse from the south, a maiden he had chosen for both love and warring, she was known. On 2 was her royal title. Cute. On 2, T-U, like number 2. And the leader who is On spouse, the given name cleverly did mean, yeah, On 2. Yeah, it even says, you know, oh, it's clever. It was cute that they did that. She bore On 3 sons and no daughters. The firstborn by her named Anki. Anki. You see, like Anu Anunnaki. Now it's just on key. Now you're starting to see the lineage. See this? That's what this is. That's why he said, you know, this is the preface. This is of the times that came before. Well, that's what we're reading here. This is unbelievable. This is an account. I didn't know this. I wasn't aware of this. Wow. It's mind blowing now that I'm reading this. Now that I figured out what this is. Wow, man. This is killer. This is a genealogical record of the generations of people that came before what we know as the Anunnaki. This is the record of their lineage and of their lives and of what they did. And the reason this is important to us. This is amazing. You know, I mean, people, you know, say a lot of crap about these, you know, translations and stuff, blah, 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 you know. I think a lot of that's disinfo. I think a lot of people are like, oh, no, those aren't real. Those aren't true, you know, blah, blah. I think people are real scared of this. Because what this is doing is, and that's why it said, you know, what has happened in the past is important to the future, because they're showing what the bloodline lineage, the relatives, ancestors of the Anunnaki who came to Earth and seeded life, they're showing what they did in their lives and how they set things up. And by having that access to that knowledge, that's why this was one of the things that Enki wanted mankind to have, this book. He wanted mankind to know this, because something in this information was going to be a gift to us to save us from some fate that may be forced upon us by these custodians in the future. So this is unbelievable, man. I mean, it is an account of the bloodlines, of the lineage, you know, and it talks about what they did in their times. And this is something we can learn from, especially when we see how, you know, this man against man, brother against brother fighting, and then the new order comes in. This information is stuff we are supposed to know, to learn something from it, to keep ourselves from going down the same route that people before us did. That's why this has been hidden from us. That's why they've, you know, gone into Iraq, gone into all of the museums and taken all these things. They don't want us to get our hands on this, because if we get our hands on this stuff and understand that what happened in the past also may happen in the future, if we don't learn what happened in the past and learn from that, you know, it's, again, just a paradigm shift. It all makes sense to me. Now, that's what all this shit's about, man. It was just kind of strange just reading this. And as I was reading this, I realized this is this is a genealogical account. So that somebody, somewhere, someday, you and I now, here in 2011, could gain some perspective or some knowledge from this. This is what secret societies, the original purpose of secret societies was. And what they did was they took that, corrupted it, and turned it, instead of being secret societies to teach us this, they turned it in secret societies are there to keep us from learning this. And only their people who are going to play the game their way and not tell people this are going to be initiated. This is the secret of the secret societies, ladies and gentlemen. Right here, you heard it right here on the show. I'm here to tell you right now today. This is it. This is what they've been hiding. This is what they didn't want us to know. These genealogical records of the ancestors of the people who came to Earth, the gods who came to Earth. This is what there's something in here, and we're going to find out, because we're going to read all this on air. There is something we're supposed to learn here, whatever it is and what it all may be. Yet I just don't know, but it's something. Alone on the throne he was seated. He was supposed to choose a spouse twice, but it got postponed. Some of this stuff I'm not going to read verbatim. I'm just going to kind of give you the, you know, kind of just put it into modern day terms. In his reign, concubines are brought into the palace. A son to him was not born. So they brought in bitches for him to bang. Essentially, they dumb it down for you. The dynasty thus began with the death of Enki, and there was no offspring. The middle son, though not firstborn, was pronounced the legal heir. So fascinating stuff here. And the idea of this, you know, this being the genealogical record of the people that came before the ones that seeded the bloodlines on Earth. It's fascinating stuff because you see now we know the answers to why mankind has lived in constant warfare. It's in our blood. And just like I talked about last night on the show, if you didn't listen to last night's show, go back and listen to it. All the shows this week, I suggest you listen to. 5 shows we got this week. I think all of them have been killer. And I'm on fire right now. Even more now, you know. But, you know, I was just talking about last night about really, you know, realizing that I thought for the longest time that I wasn't working hard enough or I wasn't. And it's not just that. The only thing that's holding back me getting my workout on to a larger scale is, you know, cash backing. Everything is, you know, you're going to have money to get anything out there now. It's not about talent or anything else. It's about how much money you have to put behind something. But once I realized that, I realized that, you know, I don't have to kill myself to do it. Trying to kill myself to do this is not the solution. You know, it was not a hindrance. It was not a weapon against me anymore. And that's, you know, that's what we have to see this as. Once we're aware of this, yes, you know, we do have it in our blood to be in constant warfare and the rest, but we can change it. Once we're aware of it and we realize that's not the way to go and that's a mistake and that people who exist on other planets even prior to Earth went through this, and that people thousands of years ago were trying to get a message to us saying, hey, don't go the way we did. You got it in your blood too because you're of us and you're like us. And since you're so much like us, you're going to go the same route we did, and a lot of people are going to die, and it's not going to be good. Here's the warning. And the elite who set up the priest class, who set up the banking houses, the religions, the power structure, the crown, the authority, the tyranny, everything, said we can't allow them to know this because we won't be able to rule if they know it. We are pushing the envelope now. I mean, can you feel it? We are in the age of awakening, folks. This is it. All is going to be revealed. It is being revealed right now on this show as you're listening. We are the generation that this stuff has to stop with. We have the information. We have the power. Our task now is to wake the people up from their slumber, and it's time to stop playing nice. I hope you'll send this broadcast to somebody. I hope you'll get it out there when it appears on YouTube, when it appears on my archives. Get it out there. Let people hear it, man. Let's do this. God, this is unbelievable. Every day is a new mind-blowing, paradigm-blowing day for me. I mean, every day. You know, and it should be for you, too. If you're staying on top of your research, you're paying attention to stuff like what I do, it will be. Never give up. Never let up. And we sure could use some donations and support right now if you can, folks. So, theglobalreality.com, chip in banner and donate button there if you can help us. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. You guys have a super duper great weekend, and I'll try to as well. I love you guys so much. Take care. Have a good one.